Good afternoon. You're here at the Waving Across the Web talk. My name is Douwe Osinga. This is Dhanji. We're both engineers on the API team. And we want to talk to you today about Wave and what you can do with it outside of Wave. Just a brief refresher on Wave. Getting stuff done with groups of people is our new slogan. We have the Wave panel on the right side, and the inbox on the left side. Our talk is mostly about what you can do with Wave outside of this whole thing. So, in as far as you see the Wave client, it will be mostly the Wave panel itself. Yes, as with all sessions, there's a live waving session associated with this. If you follow this link here, you'll land there. You can ask questions in the embedded gadget there. You can start commenting on things at the bottom. And we have somebody in the audience who's actually typing in what I'm saying. So, what are we talking about today? Last year, when we announced Wave, we announced our APIs too. And they were mostly focused on extensions APIs. So they were the things that you can do to make the Wave experience richer. So that's on one hand robots, and on the other hand gadgets. If you want to learn more about that, then, well, partly you missed your chance because the talk about how you built extensions was this afternoon. But tomorrow there's one that goes deeper into the robot API. So if you want to learn that, make sure to not miss that one. This year, we have expanded our APIs, and a lot of those APIs are around using the Wave API outside of Wave. So we already had an embedding client, but we've expanded what you can do with it, and Dhanji will talk more about that. Well, look at that. I have an extra slide. So, Dhanji will talk more about how you use the embedded client and how you can use that for commenting on the web. I'll then talk some more about WaveDis, which is a content sharing mechanism that we have set up with some interesting features. How you can use the robot API to display data from waves outside of the Wave client. And I'll introduce the Wave data APIs, which are, we think, fairly exciting because they allow you as a developer to get direct access to the user's Wave data, and it allows you to build anything from notifiers in Chrome to lightweight clients for platforms like Android. Now I think.
Okay, hello everyone. So I'm going to talk to you today about embedding waves. Up until now, we've had this concept of you come to Google Wave, you open your inbox, and you look and see what's changed and interact with other people, and then you go away. Embedding is sort of the reverse of this. We take Google Wave and bring it to you. So you can embed Google Waves out there in your own websites, in your own blogs, and other pages that you use. So to start with, let's look at a couple of use cases for where you might want to do this. So commenting is quite a popular meme on the web. You've got blogs that have comments, news articles have comments, just about every kind of article that describes a particular topic has a comment thread associated with it where readers can come in and post their thoughts. This has sort of been around for about 15 years now, and it's really starting to show signs of wear. Traditional commenting is slow because you have to post something and then come back a couple hours later to see if anyone's replied. It's all completely asynchronous. You know, it's kind of like sending emails to each other in a public forum. They're generally linearly structured, so one comment comes after another, although some commenting systems out there allow you to do slightly better structuring for replies. And many of them don't allow you to make any corrections or delete comments if you've had second thoughts about them. And of course, there's no great way to put in any rich content into these comments without linking off-site. And that's quite a poor experience for someone who's reading through a list of comments and wants to kind of get the full experience of the comment and everything it's talking about without leaving the conversation. So all of this isn't a great way to have a conversation about a topic. It's kind of worked well so far, but we believe there's a better way. So Wave as a commenting system instantly has some benefits, right? Because everything happens in real time, you can build a conversation just as you would in a room sitting around with a bunch of friends. So when you say something about the article that the comment thread is in, someone can jump in immediately and reply to that. And you can reply to that reply and so forth. And it's all instantaneous, and it's a real conversation taking place. You can, of course, edit existing comments. You can edit even other people's comments. So I know there's some grammar freaks out there that like to correct people's grammar, and so you can get in there and make those corrections. Other people can edit your comments and maybe add some more context around what you were saying. And all of this is available via playback, so you don't lose any of the history of the conversation as you're going through it. And that's a real good saving. So this makes for a real conversation rather than this asynchronous mess of messages that are being posted and glued together in a string. And of course, the real benefit is that you can embed rich content, everything from videos and images to maps, and of course, gadgets, which is one of our really cool features that allows you to do things like take spot polls or run insert a drawing that people can interactively build in your comment thread. All right, so let's move on to another use case. Actually, before that, this is a quick example of a comment thread of basically a wave with a lot of activity on it. You can see there's like a base document that's right in the back with some pictures on it, and then there are people replying in line to the things that they want to make a point about. And the colored blocks that you see there are the cursors of the various people actually replying in real time. And it's really quite exciting to kind of see this conversation unfold. Okay, so the other terrific use case for embedded waves is an event. So like you had the keynote this morning, or you'll see the second keynote tomorrow with the two big surprises they have planned, you can sort of broadcast what's happening in real time using a wave. Traditionally, you'd have a tech journalist or a reporter who would come in, sort of an exclusive set of people that get to sit right up front. They digest everything that's being said. They get like an official set of screenshots that they can publish. And then you get all of this information packaged and put out to you on their blog maybe 4 or 5 hours later. And it's not really a great experience because you don't get the feel of what's going on live. There are, of course, multiple competing sources for this kind of thing, and each blogger or tech journalist has their own perspective, and you have to kind of read all of them to get a comprehensive view of what's going on. And of course, there's no reader interaction, right? It's completely one way. It's all one directional. It's whatever the reporter or the journalist thinks that you're gonna get. You can't ask them questions. You can't sort of point out mistakes they've made. And if they've forgotten something, then that's lost forever. That information is not going to happen. Twitter and Buzz have become popular substitutes for broadcasting things about real-time events. You saw when the iPad launched, there was all kinds of crazy activity on Twitter and Buzz. So it's clearly time for something better. We call this live waving. And you would have seen earlier there was a link where there's a live wave for this very talk. And you can kind of see how this works. But what live waving is bringing the real-time aspect of an event to users. So a blog journalist or a tech journalist or a blogger can get on there and start putting in what their thoughts are, what their observations are, and people can jump on there along with everyone else and ask questions or put in their perspective. And multiple journalists or multiple sources are no longer singularly authoritative, right? Like if you disagree with something they're saying, you can kind of go in there and point that out. And this takes kind of what the Twitter users and the Buzz users have done organically and like brings it into one comprehensive, robust platform. And we think that live waving is really a great use case for Wave. Of course, the great thing about live waving is that because it's a regular wave, you can pull in all kinds of rich content. So you can put in screenshots of the great new Android handset, or a video of it in action, or whatever that might be. Okay, so what is an embedded wave? An embedded wave is just the wave client, the normal regular wave client, without everything outside the wave. So it's just that little bit that contains the wave and its content. You can embed that in any website via a small snippet of JavaScript. And this is exactly how YouTube works with their little snippet of HTML, which you can use to embed the Flash player. So this is what it looks like. There's a Google Common JavaScript loader interface that we use. It's just a simple script tag that you put in at the top of your page, and then that allows you to call the google.load method. And we say google.load wave1, which means give me the first version of the Wave API. And then we construct ourselves a wave panel, new google.wave.wave panel, and we point it to a div on the page. So you can just create any div on the page with a width and height that's to your preference, and then point the wave panel to it. Finally, we call load wave with the wave ID, which tells the script to go and pick up a particular wave to stick in there. So here's an example, a screenshot of an actual embedded wave. And this comes from Mashable's Wave API challenge that they ran last month, very successful challenge that they ran. And what they did was they ran this contest where they got people to write great extensions for Wave. And they disseminated all the information by putting it in a wave and allowing people to look at it in a read-only fashion. And this worked out really well. And of course, the UI of the embedded wave is pretty easily customized. And I said earlier, you can specify the width and the height of the div, and the wave sort of expands to fill that region correctly. But you can also add some CSS properties. You can change the color of the font. You can change the background color. You can set whether or not there's a header there. So in this example, there is no header. But earlier in this example, with the full wave client, you kind of see the list of participants and a toolbar underneath. And you can get that as well. OK, so let's quickly look at a demo of this in action. And this is just me with the wave client open. And this is a web page, and I've stuck that snippet of JavaScript that I showed you earlier into this HTML page. There's not a whole lot to it. It's like a fake blog that I came up with. And this bit right here is the wave ID that I've pulled out of the normal wave client by using the link to wave feature. So you see here at the bottom, there's a little wave ID, and you can copy and paste that in here and call load wave on it to bring the wave up. All right, so let's see this in action. So here we go. So this is my little blog, and then I embedded a wave in it. And remember that this is a fully functional first-class entity. So this is a real wave, and you can reply to it and do all of the things that you would do in a normal wave. So for instance, let's say I was a random reader of Blogtastic. I could come in here and put in a reply. And then this reply shows up here. And of course, I can reply the other way. And that shows up here too. And of course, it has all of the other features of Wave, like adding gadgets and images and video. OK, let's get back to our demo. Sorry, our presentation. OK, so this other cool feature that we rolled out recently was allowing people to look at an embedded wave even if they didn't have a Google Wave account. So up until now, if you came across an embedded wave in the wild, you would have to be logged in to be able to see the content. And this makes for a kind of poor experience if you just haven't logged in or your session's expired or something like that. So we've added this thing called Anonymous Embed, which allows any public wave, so any wave with a public participant on it, to be viewed by just about anyone at all. And you can kind of see in the top right, there's this, instead of the username, you have anonymous, and there's a link to log in. And as of today, we have open sign-up, so even if you didn't have a Google Wave invite, you could click login, and you could sign yourself up. And that's terrific. And this is exactly what Mashable did, and they've been able to take advantage of the fact that anyone can now come in and look at a wave and then go ahead and interact with it if they want to. So this feature that I've just demonstrated is slightly clunky for a use case where you want to embed waves in several websites, right? So if I just want to do it in one thing, in one wave, in one page, that's not a huge problem. I can copy paste the wave ID in my HTML like I did here, and everything's fine. But if I want to do, say, 5 or 10 of these, then it's quite cumbersome to go through and copy and paste and pre-create all of these waves. So we came up with this thing called MyEmbed. It's just a little name I have for it. It's not anything official. And what you do with MyEmbed is, instead of having a wave ID, you register an owner. So if I'm the webmaster, and my name is Champ, I write my owner address in the little snippet of JavaScript itself. So now when the embed wave comes up, it looks to make sure that you're the one who's actually trying to view this wave. And if no one's seen it before, it creates the wave if it's not there. And the way in which it does this, and completely skirts around the issue of the wave ID, is by looking at the containing pages URL. So we take the containing pages URL and convert it into a wave ID internally, and that's all sort of hidden from you, so you don't have to worry about it, and make sure that you are the same user as the one specified in the owner address. So that's fairly nice. And of course, this means that you can just take this little JavaScript snippet and stick it in all of your web pages, and you just need to visit your web pages one by one to make sure they're working, and the waves get created for you automatically. Okay, so the simplest way to get going with embedded waves is to go to the Google Web Elements website. The Google Web Elements website is just a simple way to look at all of our APIs and sort of play with them and get hello worlds going with them. And you can find that at google.com/webelements. And we're right at the bottom there at /wave. Okay, so Douwe is going to show you some cool extensions and things that we can do with robots. And there's another talk tomorrow about our new robot API and our liberated robots. So robots can now run on any domain, not just on App Engine. So what I did just before this talk was wrote up a little lightweight embedded wave client. I'll show you this in a second. And I did this purely using our robot API. So this is a real wave, and I pointed it to a wave ID, and the server's running on my desktop, on my laptop, sorry. And it loaded instantly. So it tells you that you can pretty much do everything that we do with the regular wave client with our APIs. And that's really our goal, is to empower you guys. Okay, thank you.
Well, if you thought this was all bad news, I have more slides. So, wave this. A lot of services have this dig, probably started with it, a little button on a page, and if you click it, you can share whatever URL you came from with your friends through some mechanism. And in fact, this goes back to even the Mail To link that allows you to do things like that. And of course, we wanted to have one too, and it works exactly as you expect it to work. You click the thing, it gives you a little in-between screen to confirm that you actually want to do this, to avoid people to spam you that way, and then it creates a wave with a link back to that page where you came from. And you can add your friends, and you can start discussing what's on this thing. And there's a bunch of parameters that you can set. Of course, the URL. If you don't set the URL, it will take the refer URL. So the same way as with the my embed trick, you don't actually have to specify the URL. You can just drop the same thing on the thing. You can specify the title for the wave, and you can specify the content, an initial bit of content. So this you could take from your blog template or something like that. Since it goes over the URL, unfortunately, you run into the 2K limit, so you can't really put a lot of content in there. But the interesting feature, and this is why I'm fairly excited about this, that really takes this a lot further than most of the sharing things that you have, is that you can specify a gadget. So how does it work? So in this example, I have a wave this link that refers from a YouTube watch page, and it specifies a wave this public YouTube.xml as a gadget. Now, if I click this thing, and as always, we hope that the network plays nice. Right, so it asked me if it's okay that YouTube.com wants to create a wave with me, and I say sure, otherwise it would be a short demo. And it loads the wave client. It loads the wave client. Oops. Well, Firefox. So, yes, sorry, there is a somebody help me. Also, did I move away from the presentation? Yeah, there's a problem with Flash here. Okay, let me try this again. It's always lovely to do things on other people's computer. So, why does it do this? Anyway, now you should see the video. Well, you wonder how this magic is accomplished, I'm sure. Let's go back to the presentation. Maybe the video will load after a while. How does it work? So if you click the link, Wave creates a new wave, and it inserts the gadget that you specified in that wave underneath the content. And this gadget gets set in its wave this referrer field. Each gadget has a state that you can use for anything, but for the wave this, automatically writes into the wave this referrer field the URL that you got, and that way my gadget can then inspect this URL and see, hey, it's coming from that YouTube page. I can extract the video ID from that URL, and I can render it. So I'm going to have a quick look whether it loaded. It did not. Well, That is unfortunate. What's that? Okay, so in this case, you have a website and there's a YouTube video of your cat on that site, right? And you think this is so interesting that people should share this video with their friends. Now, you put a little wave this button underneath that video. If they click that button, they get the content that you tell them to, but they also get to see that YouTube video in their wave, and then they can discuss that with their friends, because maybe they're not comfortable discussing it in a more public setting. So the discussion will be on Wave with select groups of friends. So to confuse the matter, if you compare this to, you could also put a Wave on your website so that everybody can use Wave to discuss the video with everybody. With Wave this, you do the exact opposite of that. You let people discuss your website with their friends on Wave. Does it make sense? I hope. Anyways, so I quickly wanted to show you the code of this YouTube gadget to give you somewhat. Oh, quick question. Who has written a Wave gadget or any gadget here? Okay, well, pay attention. So this is just a normal gadget. And I'm showing this using this, I've added this little robot here, K-syntaxy, which has this phenomenal thing that it actually syntax highlights code that you stick into Wave. So it's a normal gadget, but in the onState callback, we check whether the Wave this refer is set. Well, we first check whether we already loaded the movie previously. And if the Wave this refer is set, we have this regular expression that we use to extract the video ID. And then here below, we just have a standard instantiation of the normal video player. And we crudely replace movie ID with the movie ID that we extracted from the Wave this referrer. And ta-da, you have a playing video, or rather, that should be the case. Now, I also wanted to talk a little bit about the robot API and what you can do with that to get content out of Wave and use it elsewhere. So there's two robots in the wild that are sort of interesting and that do this sort of thing. One of them is Giddy, and the other one is Robot that lets you, the first one lets you actually create a gadget inside of Wave. So I can take this robot address, go to my Wave client, click a new Wave, whoa, that didn't work at all. Let's try it again. Oh. So I add it to my contact, you get the little logo, and now when I click this thing, you see what happens is that getGiddy automatically inserts the boiler template that you always need to write a gadget. And not only that, it then instantiates that same gadget underneath here. So you see immediately what happens if you create this code. So I can try this gadget here, or I can, so I can play with it, or I can change the text here. and save the situation, and then getGiddy will come out and refresh the gadget. Well, that didn't work either. Anyway, so this way you have a very quick and easy way to develop a gadget. So for all the people that didn't develop a gadget so far, give this thing a spin. It makes it a lot easier to just get started, and you get a really, a really nice interactive feedback loop. Some outside developer built the same thing for robots. That thing is called Robot, and if you want to try your hands on robot development in Wave, you should try that thing. Anyway, why is this waving across the web, you might wonder. The trick that these both robots do is that they let you edit content in Wave, the code for the robot or the code for the gadget, and then they use AppSpot to serve up the same content at a specific URL. So what getGiddy does is it copies from the Wave content the bit that describes the gadget, and it serves that up at a specific URL, and then the robot inserts that gadget underneath the code, so you get a preview of what you did. So that way you can dynamically create gadgets in a nice fashion. I wanted to show you one more example of that, and that is a little robot that I wrote myself to create wikis. So basically, the extension introduces a little wiki button here, and if you type something, I want to create a page about London. So I select London here, and now if I click this button, the robot gets added to the conversation, and what the robot also does is it immediately makes London into a link to a new page. So I can now follow this page here, and you see that there is a public Wave now that has the title London, and I could edit from there and type something like London is the capital of the UK, and that way stitch together a wiki sort of thing. Funny story, when I was developing this thing and I was demoing it, I did something similar like that, and I was typing, I think something like France borders Spain. But since this Wave is public, because it's a wiki, while I was doing this and demoing this thing, somebody jumped in from the wild, wild internet out there and started typing it also borders Germany. So it works, this collaborative building of content. So now, how does this work? I'm not going to, how does this work? I have confused my inbox a little bit with all these other waves. Ah, here we go. So I don't want to bother you too much with how the wave creation itself goes. That's just the standard trick of using annotations and replacing annotations with a link. It's documented under our sample somewhere. But I wanted to show you the other bit where down here we register an extra handler saying that we also serve content up at the wiki path URL, which is in this case defined here on top. It's /wiki. So now what happens is that if a request comes in at that thing, we extract the ID, we look up in the database that I have here which wave is associated with that page, and then we use the active robot API to fetch that wave and serve it up as static HTML. So I should be able now to go to empty wave. And see, I have now I serve the same wiki page up as a static, publicly available thing. And so with this simple trick, we've effectively built a rather powerful way to collaboratively build a wiki that we at the same time publish it as static HTML. So I think that's kind of neat. Yes, another example that I wanted to show you is chess roulette. Because I was thinking, you know, this guy with his video roulette, he got a lot of users, and you know, what is more popular than the chance to look at naked people? Chess. So, it would be, I'm going to try my luck even more by challenging you to go to this URL if you have a laptop. Of course, if you have a laptop, you're probably playing with that, but now is a good time to wake up. So if you go to this URL, and the network works, huh? This should work now. It's chessroulette.appspot.com/play. And my lovely assistant insists I should. What is wrong with this clipboard here? Anybody reach it yet? Really, we should do something about this network. Okay, so now somebody else should go here and so what chess roulette did is it got the request. It then took the request and created a new wave and added me to the wave with that gadget, with a chess gadget. But it also remembers that it has an open wave. So the next person that comes here, and it would be really impressive if that happened during my talk, will be automatically added to this wave because chess roulette remembers that it's open and we can play chess. And this way you have a simple gaming engine that lets you play chess against a random person, which is, you know, kind of neat. No? Nobody? You did? Well, then possibly my thing is fallen off the... But did you see me as an opponent?
No, I have a Raul Martinez.
Well, you should come up and do this instead of me. But anyway, how impressive is that? He plays chess against a random person. Anyway, yeah, I'm just going to blame, as usual, the network here. It's a good trick. I think that's why we do it. So I wanted to show you a little bit of the code on how this is done. That is, if I can find it. So it's a fairly simple robot. It's in fact not even a robot, almost, because the only thing that it does is it registers itself at the active API endpoint. So this robot can now create waves. And then what it does, it uses the app engine data store to keep track of whether there's any open chessboards. And if so, if there is an open chessboard, then it will just just redirect to a URL that has that wave embedded in it. And since at that point the gadget gets loaded, and the gadget adds you as the next player, because this gadget is written in such a way that the first two people that look at it become white and black. So that's just how the code works there. And the only thing that chess roulette needs to do here is create a new wavelet using the active API and add this. So it's a neat little way of creating a random game with a random person, and it shows you off how you can leverage the embed API for this sort of thing. It also sort of answers one of the questions in the thing, but we'll get to that later. Okay, I'm still not a participant here. The wave data APIs. So this is, I think, one of the more exciting things that we currently have going. So we developed this robot API, and initially it worked that it would only process events, so it was purely event-driven. And so you add the robot to a wave, then the robot gets a little message saying, hey, you were added to this wave, do you want to do something about it? And then you press a button and we go out to the robot. But the robot has no way of contacting us. So then to help that, we developed the active robot API. And that forced us, of course, to think about authentication, because as long as we only make outgoing calls, we're pretty sure that it is the robot that we're talking to, you know, because we start the conversation. If it's the other way around, we're not so sure. So what is the standard solution for this sort of thing? OAuth. And we use two-legged OAuth. That is, you have to go to, in order to get the active robot API to work for you, you have to go to the registration URL for the robot. You enter your robot credentials, and then we give you a token. You have to add this token to your robots so that we know that you actually control that robot. And we fetch that token back from your robot, and now we know that you control the robot, so we give you the secret. And you use this secret to sign all your requests, and that way that we're sure that you are you. And the Google Data, the Wave Data API really, really sprung from the observation that if you take this scenario and you replace the two-legged OAuth with three-legged OAuth, you can let applications authenticate. You can, this is tricky, you can let applications ask users for the permission to act as them. And this is what you see in the Twitter API, and most of our APIs, data APIs support that already. But the nice thing about this trick is that by this, we don't have to design an entirely new data API. We already have one, because the entire robot API is now available. And so today we have only read-only. We're going to change that this week, I think. So basically what you can do using the data API is search, which is a new operation. So you can get a snapshot of the inbox of a user, and you can use fetch wavelet to get a JSON representation of the wave. This is simple enough. It's simple enough, but it's powerful enough to build a really simple wave client, as Dhanji demonstrated. So I did that too. I built one for Android. And I'm pretty sure that I won't be able to finish this before somebody builds a better one. But I'll still give you a sneak preview on how it was done, because I opened the wrong panel here. So three-legged OAuth is called three-legged OAuth because it involves three legs, which seems somewhat complicated. So the way that the authentication works is, well, first of all, you have to have a whole bunch of URLs that play a part in this. And you can find them in our documentation. Basically, they define where do you get the various tokens, and what is the scope of your operation, which is in this case is Wave, and what is the endpoint of your RPC calls. And so the way that it works is the first thing you have to do to get three-legged OAuth work is you call the get request token. This is basically you call the get request token on Google and you say, I wanna start working with you, and you set the callback URL. Now this normally is the callback URL is just a normal URL, but since this is an Android client application, that doesn't work so well. But since all intents in Android can have URLs themselves, I just defined a handler that is wave://wave that makes, when the browser tries to redirect to that URL, Android jumps in and restarts my application. So that's the first step to do. Now, the second step to do is to start the browser with the page that has the authentication request in it. This will show the user in the standard Android browser a recognizable page with his account and the application ID and what it wants. So in this case, it will say something like the Android Lite client wants to have access to your Wave account. Is that okay? And then if the user says yes, three-legged OAuth will redirect me back to that callback URL, which in turn will restart my application. But now, in the query parameters, it will actually have an OAuth token. Now, as soon as I have the OAuth token, I then have to convert it into an access token, and then I can save the access token and the secret in the shared state of the Android application, and I can use that anytime I want to talk more to the Wave server. So that's an interesting thing to go to. Okay, that is all. We have 13 minutes for questions. You can find anything about our APIs on the code.google.com URL, and of course on the bit.ly thing here. I'm going to open that in Firefox. So, do you have any questions here? Please use the microphone so that, yeah.
Okay, if I embed a Wave in my web page, how do I handle hackers and spammers and all kind of people that are going to come in and create a nightmare of maintenance for me?
So we have a couple of tools for that. One of them is that if you sort of notice the Wave going out of control, you can set public as read-only, which means that people, your spammers can't do anything worse with the Wave than it's already been done. And then there's this fantastic feature in playback, which lets you find the frame at which things were best, right, before the spammer got on there, and just click restore. And then it restores right back to that frame. And so you can, it's as if the spammer never existed.
Are there any plans to have something where you can say, I'm going to let a certain class of people or some sort of authentication or something where you can...
Sure.
I might have 20 people I want to let them do, but I don't want to have to keep turning it off because some spammer sees this as very popular.
Right. So the question is, do we have any moderation features? We have started down that path, so we have groups that allow you to sort of pick a set of people, which is exactly the same as Google Groups. So we share the namespace as well. And you can make a group private, which means that people who come to your Wave, they can only see the Wave if they've been added to that group. And being added to a group requires you to get an invitation. So that's a pretty good...
Whoa, careful, man.
Sorry?
I had a similar question about, like, well, the first thing I thought of, like, when people said you could embed Waves was, well, what if somebody just comes along and deletes all the comments? And that could happen a lot. That, you know, I was just thinking, are there plans for, as far as moderation features, something like a sort of same user permission idea where only the person who created the comment can edit or delete it? And also, I guess a moderation feature for just removing all impact from a particular user, but I don't know.
Yeah, so the first thing can you try to get this to work? I have no idea. The first thing we talked a lot about, we have no concrete timeline to get there, but The second thing, it depends on how exactly, if you add a specific user and you set him to read only, then that user is, de facto blocked from the wave.
Oh, I mean, after the fact, if they've caused a lot of damage, can you like undo for a particular user? I know that would be difficult because it's got a tree structure, but.
Yes, so in theory, that is actually something that you could do because of the way that Wave works with OT. So you have this operation transformation. So you could just throw away all operations from one person and then just reconstruct the wave.
Yeah.
In practice,
awesome.
that would of course.
Of course, it would make some of the operations impossible.
Well, it could lead to strange situations that technically are correct, but still look really weird.
Like what would happen if somebody responded to them? Oh, I had another question. Crap, I can't remember this. I'll let somebody else talk to this. Oh, that's right. Also with oh, is somebody else talking? Anyway.
The question is, does Wave support voice to video chat? Voice. So Wave natively doesn't support it, but there is a whole bunch of extensions that let you use various tools to do that. And there is, I think, somebody in the Wave area demonstrating an extension that does that.
So
you again.
Second question. Yeah, me again. Okay, so when you embed the wave, I mean, you can have it create a new wave based on the URL of the current page, right?
Yes.
But I mean, I can imagine situations where you'd want to show the same wave on different pages or in different contexts, and also situations where maybe you would want to show different waves on the same page. Any plans on like letting us just choose an identifier for it?
Yeah.
Yes?
So this is.
So yeah, that's coming. The short answer, it's probably one release cycle away, which is a couple of weeks. Yeah.
So segue to his questions. Are you gonna in your API, will you have rights to the participants? So if I'm the host that started up a wave, I would like, as a developer, I would like to give the host who started a wave controls over the rights of the other participants.
Yes, that is
read
possible.
only, full access, no delete.
So no delete we don't have, but we introduced a couple of weeks ago the possibility for robots to set the status, set the access rights of other participants in the wave, as long as the robot is indeed the entity that created that wave. And once we have the data API bit that makes it writable flipped, you can do the same thing from the data API perspective. What's that? No, you need a robot for that.
Repeat the same question that were before, but in a different way. Is there a way to clean a wave? So wave can be very messy and a lot of abuse. Many people can put spam in different. Let's assume I created a wave, and I want to clean it, and then take away all the stuff that I clean and start a new wave from this clean part after I've cleaned it. So to have some way to clean up and take away all the mess out.
Well, you can restore a wave back to a previous version, and you can copy the root blip to a new wave, which often is, if you collaborate on a document with a team and you have all these little inline discussions, and then afterwards you modify the underlying document, and at some point you're sort of happy with the whole thing, and you say, okay, now I want to, you can then copy it to a new wave, and you get a fresh copy without all the entire inline conversations and that sort of thing, and you can modify the participant list, plus the, so that might be an answer to your conundrum.
So I can, for example, take away selective items from the wave, only selective item, and copy and create a new wave out of whatever left.
I don't think so.
We have a couple of features that are planned that are similar to that. where you're able to move one thread specifically out or in to another wave. So I think that in combination with what Douwe said earlier about copying a wave or restoring it from playback, that should give you all the tools that you're looking for.
But let me give you a better answer than that, the API answer. You can build an extension that does whatever you want. So if you come up with the way that you think the cleaning should work, you build a robot that does that, build a little extension manifest around it, and you create a new button in the toolbar. You press that button, your robot gets invoked, and it does whatever you want.
Yes, but I want to have clean. I mean, I think cleaning the wave is very important because it's a very useful tool. But the issue is how to do it and keep the playback, but selectively.
No, I agree that it is really important. I'm just saying that we're working on it, but if you want to start working on it, that would be even better. Yes. What do you mean, what is the point? Yeah.
President Obama said something really bad there. I need to erase it to clean slate and out of their replay.
So yes, if you're President Obama, you really have to watch your words because there is no unsaying things, and I fear that's true on the wave too. So the only thing you can do is you can remove the bit and then copy it to a new wave. Then that new copy of the wave will of course not have the history and the playback. But anybody that was on the wave when you said the thing that you wish you hadn't, will have access to that information. That cannot be undone. Yeah.
Well, another interesting answer is if no one's seen that content, you can remove them as a participant and they'll never see the wave. So that's, you can actually withdraw a wave by doing that. And that should work for you.
Magic unsend button.
If I host restarted a wave, I can delete it.
No, if you add a participant to a wave, and as long you have until they open the wave, you can remove that participant, and they will just not see it. But as soon as they open the wave, they have the information. Yes.
How would you handle an embedded URL that is a port 443, in which requires authentication? So if you have a standard page, you've embedded a URL to a site that requires authentication. How will the wave handle that in terms of when it goes to that site? Will it prompt every new user who comes to the free page to then authenticate themselves?
So if your website, it's totally at the mercy of your website, right? So if your website requires authentication to get to a particular page?
Let's say it's a free website, free page, and in it I embed a link to a YouTube, let's say requires authentication. And then when someone comes to my free site and looks at the wave, there will be content in there that points to an authenticated session.
Yes.
How will Wave deal with that?
So your content that you link off of the wave is session bound, is that right?
Yes.
Well, you shouldn't do that for one thing, because if you want people to be able to see it, you want them to be able to see it if they're not logged into Wave or anything at all, right? So ideally what you want to do is publish a wave in such a way that it's the equivalent of a static website that's out there on the internet. Except the difference is you can add all of this content in line.
Great.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Just as a follow-up on that one.
Sure.
I mean, when you've got like the wave this button, that's creating a wave and it's embedding a hyperlink. It's not actually drawing content in at that point unless you've got a gadget that tries to do that. So all you'd be showing them is a hyperlink, and if they clicked on it, then they'd, be asked to authenticate.
Right. Yeah, but you could have a gadget that only works if but like Dhanji says, you shouldn't do that. And as a gadget author, if you want that people to authenticate before using the gadget, and then you have that gadget, that's always going to be messy. I mean, it can be done.
Yeah.
So thank you very much. We're out of time.
If you guys have more questions, come up and see us after the talk. Thank you very much.